I'm Chief Richard Tantalo of the Irondequoit Police Department. I've been a police officer here for 38 years. So as the Chief of Police, I happen to be a member of Drug Free Irondequoit, and we have worked very hard under the direction of our director and leadership team to put together a comprehensive program and plan for the town of Irondequoit. It's really important for people to understand the consequences of consuming alcohol and really other substances when operating a motor vehicle, especially as an adolescent or a young adult. And the consequences are pretty severe. Alcohol consumption affects driving in many ways. So think about it this way, where someone's judgment is impaired and now they're behind the wheel of a vehicle that can cause a great deal of damage. It certainly impacts their vision and their ability to operate a vehicle. It also impairs their ability to determine, when they should be making specific movements associated with operating a motor vehicle. They may pass through a red light because they didn't give themselves enough time to react to that. And reaction time is key. And that's why we see in many instances with an impaired driver, they have a higher probability of being involved in a motor vehicle crash. The other thing that you're going to hear me talk a little bit about as we go through this program is what's the implications for insurance. So if you're a young male in New York State and you have a motor vehicle and you are going to register that vehicle and you're going to have your own insurance, you're going to find that insurance is going to cost you a great deal of money. And having that type of violation on your driving record will increase those costs for you and potentially put you in a risk pool where you'll have to pay a substantial amount of money associated with that. And then the other thing for people to consider is, that's a DMV regulation and it goes on your driving record. And if you ultimately decide that you're going to gain employment where there's a vehicle involved that you'd have to operate that vehicle, your employer would become aware of that because they would be able to run your driving record. In Monroe County, we have a social host ordinance where if somebody is hosting a party, having an event at their particular home or the residence in which they are in charge of. So it doesn't necessarily have to be the homeowner, but the responsible individual or adult. And they are allowing alcohol to be served, or they know that it's being served but aren't intervening to stop it. They could ultimately be held responsible for that and charged. And that's a misdemeanor. It's a pretty serious offense. And potential liabilities exist as well, considering the fact that somebody could potentially be injured, hurt, or become victim of something associated with that. It's so important for us to be able to communicate with each other as adults, as neighbors, as concerned citizens. It's really key that we move forward in that direction. And I know that in many instances, people are fearful of being that nosy neighbor or putting their opinion into something that maybe is more of a private affair. But the best number for someone to call is 911. And I know that there's a certain level of hesitation with that, but I can assure you that by calling 911, you would give us the information immediately, and we work very hard. I can almost guarantee that you would be completely anonymous. There is also a tip line that can be used. It's an 800 number. And if you call this tip line, you can provide the information to a resource center who would then in turn send it to us as a law enforcement agency and we would respond. So that tip line number is 1-800-851-1932. As I mentioned, I grew up here. I've worked here for a long period of time. I find Irondequoit to be a very caring and welcoming community, and I think that's what makes us such a great community to raise a family in, to live in, to attend school at. And I'm just hoping that people will listen to these messages, recognizing that we're all in this together, and it really takes a community or a village to raise a child.